Well, it's John here from Fat Sacks, and it's been a bit. That's an understatement of the year. Decided to dust off the old mic, and since I've been sending a few emails lately, I thought it was time to do another video/podcast. So today I want to talk about really what I've been working quite a bit on where it comes to my niche publication for the last 15 months, ever since Google pretty much did a number on the whole industry, and that is email newsletters. So email newsletters for what I call a B2C site, which is like a non-business oriented site. We'll contrast that with Fat Stacks. It's a different beast, and I approached it initially. I knew it was different, but I made some huge mistakes. I want to talk about the mistakes I made because at this point now it's working really, really well. And I had a fair amount of success for a while. I had some challenges which I'll get into. Managed to fix those amazingly. Didn't expect that, and now things are pretty much on a path to where it's just a matter of grow. All right, so B2C is really a high volume newsletter, and how I monetize is simple. I send readers back to my website where there's ads on there, Mediavine ads, and that's the way. It's basically for me a good, consistent traffic source. Right? It takes a while to get there because when it comes to B2C, I'm not selling anything. The RPMs are ad based. They're not like a business that's selling a paid newsletter or selling a course or something where you don't need the volume to generate a really good revenue. So it's completely different in that respect. So, the number of subs I have B2C is many times more than what I have for Fat Stacks. So it's a completely different thing. But what I failed to do, my biggest mistake over the last 15 months, it's been a tad over a year since I really dove into the whole newsletter and chose that as my primary vehicle for niche publications. My biggest mistake was not paying enough attention to the open rate. Okay, open rate, as I've learned, is incredibly important. And there was a reason I didn't too. I was operating on a different theory, and I'll explain that because I don't think it was a wrong theory, but it turned out to be wrong. All right, so just to give you some numbers, right now my B2C is hovering in the 36 to 40% open rate, which is really good. Okay, now that's because I've implemented some scrubbing mechanisms, which I'll discuss, and I have a kit reported click rate of 2 to 2.5%. It sounds bad, but I'm going to explain why it's a lot better than it sounds, and it's because it's the way Kit calculates click rate, which I find a little annoying. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, the revenue and the traffic to the site, that's what matters. So the number one mistake I made in the last 15 months with newsletters was focusing more on total subs rather than open rates, okay? And there's a reason I did that, and the reason was this. There's a service, we can call it a service if you want. It's Postmaster Google, I believe it's called. I have an account, I'm verified and all that. And what that does is it will show you your complaint rate and your domain health where it comes to sending emails. And I suppose it's only tracked through Gmail, but let's face it, a sizable chunk of anyone's newsletter is going to Gmail. So it'll show you complaint rate. And so the theory I was operating on, and I don't think this was an unreasonable approach, is that the more subs you have, which means don't scrub, the lower the complaint rate will be as a percentage, because it's the percentage of the complaint rate that could cause delivery problems. So I was thinking, well, if I don't scrub, my open rates got really low. They got to like 12, 13, 15%, which is really bad as it turns out. And I'll tell you what happened. But that was my theory, and it worked for a long time. And my newsletter was humming along quite nicely. I was pushing the envelope, though. I was pushing the boundaries with number of emails per day, getting subscribers, all this stuff, right? I just wanted to see where I could get it, and it worked really well. Okay, so I didn't scrub. I had tons of subscribers, way more than I do now, and my open rates were way down. And all of a sudden, over December, of course, when I'm on holidays and all that, the delivery basically stopped. Okay, and Kit actually stopped my ability to send emails. I got to say, Kit was really cool. All right, at first I thought Kit was like, oh, we're kicking you out, we're banning your account because for whatever reason And it wasn't that at all. They were like, we're just stopping you because you're having some problems. And if you don't fix them, you're going to have serious problems with Gmail. So kudos to Kit. I thought that was cool. So they were there to help, not really cause me problems. But I couldn't send emails. And so, I asked them, well, what should I do? I said, you guys scrub. Okay, fair enough, right? My theory was wrong. And so I did what they said. And they have this... you could scrub based on non-opens for the last 90 days, which is their typical default scrub formula. And I did that. But they had this other one. I had, I think, a pro account. And they assign a rating to all your subscribers. And they said, well, just unsubscribe anyone who's a 1 to 3 rating because they're not like active or engaged subscribers. So I did that too. So I slashed that list. It just went down and down and down. And I was sort of resigned to be like, well, we'll see what happens. It really can't get any worse than this. And so I did that. And then Kit turned it back on. And I was sending again. And my open rates, like within days, went way up. Like right around 30%. And what was cool about it is, I ran into problems. But once I had scrubbed and, I don't know how Gmail does its testing and all that. But they were bouncing a ton of my emails, which was the problem. And then all of a sudden they weren't, and my opens rates were 30%. Now the cool thing is once you have a decent open rate, it gets better and better. It's sort of this self-fueling thing. Your open rates are good. Then the delivery rates improve. And again, your open rates improve and so forth. So now I'm getting 40, 39% open rates for a lot of my emails, which is really high for a high volume B2C. I still have a lot of subscribers in there. And so this means it's now a healthy email. I'm very confident going forward, basically keeping it around these rates, implementing the scrubbing system that I have, which I'll get into in a second, is going to make it really a viable, strong, high revenue producing business model going forward for B2C, which is great. Okay. So really open rates are super important. And I don't know what my complaint rate is. I haven't actually checked in a while because I don't really have a need to because it's performing so well. I suppose I could, but I just haven't bothered. All right, so open rates are key. And let's talk about the scrubbing, okay? You can do the default scrub on Kit. And if it's been a while since you've done it, it's probably a good thing to do. They have basically the formula is if those who haven't opened in 90 days, they're unsubscribed. It makes total sense. That's a good formula. They also have a modified formula for those who are newer if they haven't opened. I'm not so wild about that, but like what about the subscriber who joined 3 days ago? Maybe they just didn't get around to opening. I'm not really sure. Anyways, of course, I kind of did everything just because, well, I didn't really have a choice, so I did it. And I also went a step further. And if you have I think a Creator Pro account with Kit, I'm not sure if other email service providers provide, various mechanisms for rating subscribers and their engagement and so forth. But I use Kit, and lots of people do. I thought that was useful as well. I'm not sure I would do a massive scrub like that again because I have another system for scrubbing right now that's working really well, and it's pretty obvious. And I know people are watching and listening to this, and they're saying, well, duh, John, open rates are important. If you're going to run email newsletters, you should probably have a grasp of that. Well, yeah. And so I've learned. It only took a year and change. So the scrub rate is this. I basically set up a welcome sequence for all new subscribers. And if they don't open, I have 5. I don't even think I need 5 is probably too many, but 5 emails, 1 a day, because I do send my emails 1 a day. All right. And I may be increasing that actually, but I send 1 a day. And so the sequence is 1 a day. And those who don't open one of the 5 in the first 5 days, they're unsubscribed. And so basically my broadcast list does not go to anyone who's in the welcome sequence. That means the list is an engaged list for the most part. They've opened, all right? If I wanted to get really stringent, I would probably change the welcome sequence to retaining only those who open 2 emails, because a lot of people may open 1, right? Just check it out. And if they're not interested, they don't open anymore, but they are then added to my main list. So if I really want to get proactive with good scrubbing, I may do that, because I'm finding that ever since I've done that, that's been huge. In fact, I don't really have to do the big main scrub that often, because people on the list are opening, and the open rates are indicative of that. So super important. All right, so one a few tangent things about email here I want to talk about is unsubscribe requests. I know these are the most annoying things ever, right? Like your default thought is like, there's an unsubscribe link at the bottom. Like all you have to do is hit that. Why are you emailing me? Blah blah blah. All right, you basically want to say that to them, but don't. Right? Of course not. Be polite. I'm always polite, and I do it for them. Right? One way or another, you can just hit the unsubscribe button in their email, and they're gone. Right? So it's easy enough. All right. Take it seriously though, because these are the people. If they get another email from you after asking, they're going to be irate, right? Who does this publication think they are? They don't listen to me, and I'll show them, right? They're going to go out of their way, and they're going to complain, and they're going to mark you as spam, and then, these are the things you do not want to happen. You want to minimize that as much as possible. Now, I know email newsletters. The whole point of email newsletters is we want a fairly easy, passive type of traffic source that's scalable. That's the whole point of like doing any sort of publishing online, right? That was the whole point of SEO back in the day. So we want the same with email newsletters, but you know what? The truth is there's going to be certain aspects of it that are not going to be that passive. And this is one example. You got to do it. It only takes a couple of seconds to do, but it's something that you want to do and watch out for and pay attention to. All right. The other thing I want to cover before I get into click rate is this is not ideal for every niche. I've heard from some people, they've, given it a go in various niches, and basically what I've learned is it's not for every niche. And that's totally true, because even I've had to, initially when I started, I tested a variety of approaches within the vertical that I operate, and I did shift to an extent. And I've now found a sweet spot that's working really, really well, but it wasn't immediately apparent, and it was not an overnight success. All right. So, I get email is not for everyone because it is a lot of work, and there's a lot of tech involved that I don't even understand. I have no clue. I'll probably never understand it. All I care about is that it works, right? Of course, there are people who understand all the tech behind it, and they're really into that, and they probably have that advantage. So there's that, and that it's not super passive. I mean, this is a daily sort of thing. Sure, you can set up super long sequences. It's not really the approach I do. I send out daily broadcasts, and just there's reasons for that. It's probably another whole video, but that's the model I chose. So it's not going to work for every niche, and it does take figuring out, and it's super frustrating to do that, especially if you've plowed through a couple of efforts and it's still not working. And so I get it's not for everyone, but it's also not for every niche. So don't just think, oh, email, that's the answer. Maybe not. I can tell you this though, if it is the answer, if you make it work, it's really, really good, because the scaling potential is enormous. All right. And there's other ways to scale these things. Some large, publishing entities, they'll launch complimentary newsletters, other newsletters, and they're leveraging subscribers from one to basically drive traffic to the others and become subscribers to the others, and they're creating this almost like this flurry of this massive email publication off the success of their initial, and that's pretty cool. Now I'm not doing that, but it's always sort of at the back of my mind. But I still have work to do with this one. I still have work to make this one better. So before I get distracted with all that, but that is definitely a potential way to scale down the road, or lots of ways to scale this. So I can tell you it's not for every niche, but if you can make it work, it's really good. It's a really good business model. All right, let's talk about click rate. Now, I'm referring to Kit's click rate. If you don't use Kit, I'm sorry, I don't know how they do it, but because I after I sent an email, which is essentially what I'm talking about here, I had people respond and say, "Wow, 2 to 2.5% click rate. That's not very good. You're going to need a million subscribers to make a couple of nickels." And well, yes and no. Okay, B2C, you got to remember, if your main revenue is driving traffic to your site and earning from the ads, you're going to need a lot of subscribers. There's no sugarcoating that, all right? But you're not going to need millions, because I don't have millions, and I'm doing quite well with it, all right? So the thing with Kit's click rate is it's based on unique users who click. right? And the way I do email newsletters, and a lot of B2C publications do that, they don't have just one link in there, right? B2B they might be promoting their YouTube video, they might be promoting a course, they might, it'd be one link and that's the whole focus of it. This is different. This is, hey, we want to send people to the site. Let's give them lots of options. So I give them lots of options. So Kit's calculation does not calculate the readers who click 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 links. And there are people who do that. And so the click rate is dramatically underreported. So at the end of the day, what do I look for really when I'm monitoring this newsletter? It is open rate and it is revenue. That's it. That's what I care about. Revenue's going up, good. Open rates, healthy, good. It's good to go. It's going to work and I can grow it. All right. So that's an important thing. Now, lastly, I want to talk about formatting, and that is something I think smaller publishers like us have a huge advantage. B, I think a lot of email publications do it wrong. And the reason for that is they go for these big fancy email templates, right? I've never been one to invest a ton of time and effort into design, not with any of my sites really. I would often talk about how I use themes basically out of the box. I think these days there's stronger arguments to put more effort into design. I actually did that. I actually bought a child theme that looks cool. And I did that for my site because I wanted to make it better. So, I've sort of tempered that approach or that view that I've operated on. But when it comes to email, at least what I tested, and I've tested this with a lot of, those fancy templates with the article title and the image and maybe even the description and all this stuff. And it's like this grid inside and looks really cool. When I tested it, that killed the clicks. Right? It's just too messy. So what do? Article title linked to article and site. That's it. Article title, text, link, text, link, text, link. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, send. Done. And the clicks, because that's all it is just a bunch of links. And I don't try to, be super mysterious or anything. The titles will add some intrigue in some cases. You want that. You want to get people to click, but it's not like blatant, overly hyped clickbait. I don't really want to do that either. I don't want people to show up on the article like, click for this. This is bad, right? It's that balancing act. But so really I keep it simple. I almost dare say that the emails are ugly. They're just a bunch of links like with titles and hyperlinks. And they're certainly not the beautiful templates that, a lot of the email service providers, when you check out, their sales pages and all, they talk about templates, this, and to check out our template inventory and all this stuff. Not my thing. I don't care about that. So, Kit actually, ironically, does not have the greatest designs. I don't care for their landing page as much. I don't care for their pop-ups actually. So they're not that terribly design oriented. Even the layouts that they offer, I'm not super wild about. Which is fine because I don't use any of it, so that's fine. I actually create my own landing pages with Gutenberg and keep them really simple, and that's better. So, just keep this stuff super simple. Test it. Again, we're just going what I'm doing. You want to test it. It doesn't hurt a few emails to throw some images in there. Maybe it's going to work for you. I don't know. All right. So it reminds me of back in the day, when I had somebody email me, my site was getting good traffic. This was probably around 2015, 16. It was getting lots of traffic from Facebook. And somebody emailed me and they said, hey, we want to put an ad on your site. And this didn't really happen to me too much. And they said, we'll pay $7.50 per 1,000 impressions. And I knew enough that was a lot of money for one ad. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds really good. I thought it was nonsense, but I entertained. I replied. And I said, sure, but, I agreed. And then I realized I better see what I'm agreeing to. I said, I'll follow it up. I said, hey, can you show me the ad? And the ad was hilarious, and I knew it would work. I knew why they're paying so much, but I did it anyways because I want to see how much money it would make. But it was this ugly square banner. It was like gray background. It had emojis plastered everywhere, and then this text in like ugly circa 2004, computer text was like, congratulations, you're the millionth visitor, click to claim your prize, right? Like, I don't know if it would, I think it would still do really well today. I think a lot of people are smarter in knowing this whole prize nonsense is just going to take you to some, lousy offer. But it sure worked then, because they gave me a dashboard and it was actually showing me how many clicks they were getting on this thing. It was thousands a day for, $7.50. I know they were making a pile of money. I let it run for a little while just to sort of see what it would do. The money was good, but it wasn't really worth it for the user experience. So I ended it. And I ended it, and I was able to end it because I wasn't in a contract. All right. And that's the last point today. I know I'm just meandering all over the place, but I got to say, don't go into a contract with any monetization provider. Just, you know what? You can get stuck. You lose control. You have a boss, right? Like, seriously, they can make all the promises they want. You go into a contract. Let's say your revenue just nosedives and you're stuck. You don't know if they're, on the back end, maybe they're keeping a bigger chunk of the revenue. You're never going to really know that, right? We go on faith that Mediavine and Raptive and whoever else is paying us the percentage that they say, and I've got no reason to doubt that they're paying me the percentage that they tell me they're paying. My results are excellent, so I have no complaints. But let's say it nosedives and you're in a contract and they'll say, well, it's just, just things are bad, or what, it's a recession, or it's, a new quarter, or whatever, right? It'll give you any reason. You got no proof, but you're stuck in a contract. You can't go. If you remain a free agent and you can bail, they know they got to perform. Their revenue's got to be good, or you're going to leave and you can go somewhere else. So do not sign a contract unless it's going to be for so much money you don't even care, which is, of course, not going to happen. So that's my rant on contracts with monetization sources. Thanks for watching and listening.